The diplomatic quarters aboard the Nexus Prime had been designed to accommodate dozens of different species, but Zoe had never expected to share hers with a human. David Chen sat cross-legged on the biofoam meditation mat, his eyes closed, breathing with the kind of steady rhythm that her people associated with deep trance states. Zoe's forearms moved in practice patterns as she prepared for what her species called Kethmara, the ritual combat dance that determined social hierarchy among the Veltar. Her chitinous exoskeleton gleamed under the soft lighting, each segment perfectly articulated for maximum flexibility and strength. At 7 feet tall and weighing nearly 400 pounds, she was considered small for her kind. "Your meditative practices are quaint," she said, her mandibles clicking with what humans might mistake for amusement. "But surely you understand that protocol demands we establish dominance rankings before the treaty negotiations begin." David's eyes opened slowly, revealing an unsettling calm. "I understand the protocol, Ambassador Zoe. I also understand that your people view physical dominance as the primary indicator of negotiating strength." "Precisely." She moved closer, her forearms spreading wide in the traditional challenge posture. "The Kethmara is simple. Pin your opponent for 10 seconds and superiority is established. It's harmless. We've dulled our natural toxins for the occasion." David rose to his feet with fluid grace. At 6 feet tall, he seemed almost fragile compared to her imposing frame. His simple diplomatic attire, a dark blue jumpsuit with the Earth Confederation emblem, looked woefully inadequate for combat. "Very well," he said simply. Zoe's training had taught her to end fights quickly. Her species had evolved as apex predators on a world where hesitation meant death. She launched herself forward with lightning speed, all four arms reaching to ensnare the human in an inescapable grapple. What happened next defied every combat algorithm in her augmented nervous system. David simply wasn't there. Her momentum carried her past empty air as the human flowed like water around her attack. Before she could process what had occurred, she felt a gentle but irresistible force redirecting her movement. Her own strength and speed turned against her, sent her tumbling across the meditation mat. She recovered with predatory grace, spinning to face him. David stood exactly where he had been, hands at his sides, breathing unchanged. "Curious technique," she hissed, her combat stimulants flooding her system. "But luck won't save you twice." This time she attacked with calculated precision, using her superior reach and strength to box him in. Her forearms moved in a coordinated pattern that had never failed to overwhelm opponents. Yet somehow David moved through her attacks like smoke through a forest. Every grab, every strike, every attempt to corner him seemed to pass through empty space. Then she felt it, a hand on her wrist, redirecting her momentum. Another touch at her elbow, sending her stumbling. A gentle push at her shoulder that somehow multiplied into an irresistible force that sent her crashing to the deck. She rolled and sprang to her feet, adrenaline analogs surging through her system. "What sorcery is this?" "Aikido," David replied calmly, "combined with a bit of judo and some principles from Tai Chi. My grandmother insisted I learn traditional martial arts before the academies allowed me to study modern combat systems." Zoe's tactical computer ran rapid calculations. The human hadn't used superior strength. She outweighed him by nearly 200 pounds. He hadn't used speed. Her reflexes were demonstrably faster. Yet somehow he had made her own power work against her. "Impossible," she growled. "No species develops combat techniques that don't rely on physical superiority." "Most species don't need to," David said, settling back into his meditation pose. "Humans evolved as persistence predators, Ambassador. We're not the strongest, fastest, or most naturally armed species on our world. We learned to be clever instead." Frustration and fascination warred in Zoe's mind. Her entire worldview was built around the principle that physical dominance determined social order. It was the foundation of Veltar civilization, the basis of their military doctrine, the core of their diplomatic philosophy. "Show me," she said suddenly. David raised an eyebrow. "Excuse me? These techniques, they're not about dominance, are they? They're about something else." For the first time, David smiled. "They're about balance, about using minimum force for maximum effect, about turning aggression into harmony." Over the next hour, David demonstrated basic principles while Zoe watched with growing amazement. He showed her how to redirect force rather than oppose it, how to find stability through flexibility, how to achieve victory through yielding. "Your people's way of thinking," she said finally. It's not about proving superiority at all. We learned long ago that the strongest sword can be broken, David replied. But water can carve through mountains given enough time. When the formal negotiations began the next day, Zoe entered the chamber with a completely different perspective. The human delegation didn't posture or display strength. Instead, they listened, adapted, and found solutions that served everyone's interests. She watched David work, seeing now what she had missed before. His true strength wasn't physical at all. It was the ability to turn conflict into cooperation, to find strength in apparent weakness, to achieve victory by ensuring everyone won. The treaty signed 3 days later was unlike any in galactic history. Rather than establishing dominance hierarchies between species, it created frameworks for mutual benefit. The humans hadn't conquered anyone, they had simply shown a better way forward. As the delegates prepared to return to their respective worlds, Zoe approached David one final time. "I need to ask," she said. "That first day when I attacked you, you could have hurt me, couldn't you?" David nodded slowly. Those same principles that redirect force can also amplify it. But that was never the point. Then what was? "To show you that strength isn't always what it appears to be," he said, "and that sometimes the most powerful response to aggression is understanding." Zoe's mandibles clicked, and what she had learned was the human equivalent of a smile. "My people have much to learn from yours." "And we from yours," David replied. "That's what makes us stronger together." As the Nexus Prime jumped to hyperspace carrying news of the unprecedented alliance, Zoe reflected on the human paradox. They were individually weak yet collectively unstoppable, physically inferior yet strategically brilliant, seemingly harmless yet ultimately irresistible. She had learned that day that true strength wasn't about domination, it was about elevation. And in that understanding, both their species had found something far more valuable than victory. They had found a future,